All right, so we're back for another deep dive. And today we're going to be looking at this book, Power of Ignored Skills.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like these skills that we all have, right? But maybe don't always pay attention to or think about how important they are.
Hmm.
And this book basically um, goes through, I think, over 50 stories, short stories
Oh,
about different skills,
okay.
and kind of shows how these skills can really have an impact on your life.
That's great.
Yeah. And so we're going to be looking at some of the key takeaways from this book and kind of, seeing if we can figure out how we can apply these skills to our own lives.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I guess maybe just to give you a taste of what we're going to be talking about today,
Sure.
we're going to be talking about things like how the invention of Velcro actually came from a very simple observation.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And then also how Steve Jobs asked a very strategic question about selling sugar water
Okay.
that actually ended up changing the course of Apple's history. Yeah. And then we'll also be talking about things like, how a seemingly logical decision
Mm.
to like kill all those sparrows in China actually led to devastating consequences.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then we'll also be talking about how the British military actually inadvertently helped create the technology behind smartphones.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's kind of all these things that you wouldn't necessarily think are connected,
Hmm.
but they all kind of come back to these fundamental skills that we all have.
Right.
So, yeah, I guess why don't we jump right into chapter one, which is about the power of observation.
Sounds good.
So, I mean, we all observe things every day, right?
Yeah.
But this chapter goes beyond just kind of passively seeing.
Right.
It's about actually, carefully examining,
Hmm.
making connections,
Hmm.
and then pulling out meaningful insights from the world around us.
Interesting.
And they use this example of Isaac Newton and the apple.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just that he saw the apple fall,
Hmm.
it's that he questioned why. Like, why did the apple fall?
Yeah.
And that curiosity, sparked by just this simple observation,
Yeah.
led to, his theory of gravity,
Right.
which is obviously a groundbreaking discovery.
Hmm.
So it really shows that even seemingly obvious observations
Yeah.
can lead to incredible discoveries
Right.
if we take the time to really kind of think about them
Yeah,
and
exactly.
examine them.
I think a lot of the times we just see things and
Mhm.
we don't really think about why they are happening
Yeah.
or what we can learn from them.
Yeah, we just kind of take things for granted.
Yeah.
And, another example they use in this chapter
Okay.
is the story of Howard Schultz and Starbucks.
Okay.
Now, I mean, coffee shops were around forever, right?
Yeah.
But he went to this small cafe in Italy
Okay.
and he saw something different.
Mm-hmm.
He was struck by the way that the employees were, really knowledgeable about their coffee
Oh, okay.
and they really like focused on customer service. And he kind of tapped into that like emotional connection that people have with their coffee experience. And so that observation became the foundation for a global brand.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's pretty incredible, right?
Yeah.
And so it makes you wonder, like, how many potential Starbucks moments
Mhm.
are we missing every single day
Right. Yeah.
because we're not paying attention?
Yeah, we're just not observing carefully enough.
Right.
Yeah.
And the chapter also goes into, how vital observation has been to humankind in general,
Mm-hmm.
like going all the way back to our ancestors.
Oh, okay.
Early humans, they survived
Mm-hmm.
because they could observe,
Right.
think critically, and then pass on that knowledge.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't even be here without that ability to
Oh, that
observe
extra.
and learn from our observations.
Mhm.
And this idea of learning through observation is still so relevant today, right?
Oh, absolutely.
They talk about this Bobo doll experiment by Albert Bandura,
Okay.
which showed that children learn just by watching what adults do.
Oh.
They actually observed even aggressive behavior being copied.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so it makes you realize how much we actually pick up
Yeah.
just by watching other people.
Yeah, we're always observing even if we don't realize it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, think about learning a complex skill, right?
Mhm.
Like imagine if you're trying to learn Sachin Tendulkar's cover drive in
Uh-huh.
cricket.
Yeah, yeah.
You could just watch it and kind of get the gist.
Yeah.
But if you carefully observe
Mm-hmm.
his technique, his footwork, his grip,
Yeah.
that's when you really start to understand the nuances
Right.
and can actually try to replicate it.
It makes a big difference.
Right. So the more closely we observe,
Yeah.
the better we actually learn and understand.
Absolutely.
So I guess the question then becomes like, how do we make sure that we are observing carefully,
Mm.
not just kind of passively seeing?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question.
And the book really emphasizes the importance of curiosity.
Okay.
It's like curiosity fuels our observation.
Yeah.
And that ultimately leads to better decision-making.
Interesting.
They even have a story from Hindu mythology about Narad Muni,
Okay.
which highlights how observation can sometimes be more important than just relying on statistics.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes what we see in the real world trumps the numbers.
That's interesting.
It's a reminder that data doesn't always tell the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
And then they talk about this biologist who made his students spend days just observing a fish.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, sounds kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
But the point was to train them to see the details,
Okay.
to notice the smallest things that other people might miss.
So to really pay attention.
Right.
Yeah.
And this hyper-focus on observation,
Hmm.
it's actually what led to some major scientific discoveries.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they talk about Edward Jenner and the smallpox vaccine.
Okay.
You know how he observed milkmaids
Mm-hmm.
and noticed that they didn't get smallpox.
Right.
And that led him to develop a vaccine.
That's amazing.
And then also Benjamin Franklin's careful study of lightning.
Yeah.
That's what helped us understand electricity.
Wow. I never thought about it that way.
So it just goes to show how powerful observation can be.
Yeah.
And we all have this ability, but I think we often take it for granted.
I think so too.
So this chapter really challenges us to actually actively cultivate that skill of observation through concentration and curiosity.
It's like a muscle we need to exercise.
Exactly, yeah. All right, so I guess moving on to chapter 2.
Okay.
This chapter is all about the power of connecting the dots.
Interesting.
So we're talking about seeing connections that other people miss,
Mm-hmm.
putting together seemingly unrelated information
Yeah.
to kind of reveal a bigger picture.
Okay.
And they have all these examples in this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So they talk about how Mumbai became a major business hub
Okay.
because of the opening of the Suez Canal.
Really?
Yeah, which is thousands of miles away.
Yeah.
It shortened trade routes and transformed Mumbai into this major port city.
So something that happened so far away actually had a direct impact
Right.
on Mumbai's success.
Exactly. It shows how seemingly unrelated global events
Yeah.
can have these ripple effects.
It's true. We're all connected in ways we might not realize.
Right. And then they also talk about how a U.S. government policy
Okay.
that was designed to help American cotton farmers
Mm-hmm.
actually ended up hurting cotton farmers in India.
Wow.
So it's like actions can have unintended consequences,
Absolutely.
especially in a globalized world.
Yeah, it's a complex system.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they talk about the Indian Green Revolution
Okay.
and how that was actually connected to the Vietnam War.
Wow. I never would have thought of that connection.
Yeah, it's like global events can have these ripple effects
Mm-hmm.
on seemingly unrelated areas.
Right.
And they also talk about migration patterns within India.
Oh, interesting.
So like people moving from Uttar Pradesh and Bihar to Punjab,
Okay.
or from Northeast India to Kerala, and how these movements
Mhm.
are driven by events in one region, creating opportunities in another.
It's like a chain reaction.
Right.
Yeah.
But then they also talk about how policies that are intended to create equality
Mm-hmm.
can sometimes backfire.
Really?
Yeah, they use this example of the freight equalization policy in India,
Okay.
which actually ended up hindering the development of states that were rich in minerals.
Oh, wow.
So it's like,
So even with good intentions,
yeah,
things can go wrong.
exactly. It's like logical decisions, if they don't consider the full picture,
Yeah.
can have these negative
That's
consequences.
an understanding the complexities.
Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of good intentions gone wrong, they have this story about the snake effect.
The snake effect, what's that?
It was in British India.
Okay.
They were trying to reduce the cobra population,
Okay.
so they offered rewards for dead snakes.
Okay. That makes sense.
Seems logical, right?
Yeah.
But what happened was people started breeding cobras
Oh.
just to collect the reward.
Wow. So they actually made the problem worse.
Exactly. It's like they didn't fully understand the problem before they
Yeah.
implemented the solution.
It's like you said, unintended consequences.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then a very similar story
Okay.
is Mao Zedong's Sparrow campaign in China.
Oh, right. I've heard about this.
They tried to wipe out all the sparrows because they were eating crops.
Yeah.
Again, it seemed logical at the time,
Hmm.
but it was a disaster.
What happened?
Well, they didn't consider the sparrow's role in controlling insects.
Oh, right.
So the crops failed,
Oh, wow.
and then there was famine.
So it's like they disrupted the whole ecosystem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So connecting the dots requires more than just logic.
Mm-hmm.
You have to really understand how things are interconnected.
It's about seeing the bigger picture.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they talk about Alan Turing.
Oh, the code breaker.
Yeah, the guy who cracked the Enigma code in World War II.
Yeah.
But they point out that his ability to connect the dots went far beyond just code breaking.
Really?
Yeah, he's considered the father of computer science.
Wow.
Like, his work laid the foundation for modern computers
That's amazing.
and artificial intelligence.
So it's like a seemingly niche skill
Yeah,
had this huge impact.
exactly.
Wow.
And speaking of unexpected impacts,
Okay.
did you know that the British military actually inadvertently helped create the technology behind smartphones?
No way. How did that happen?
So they needed flat screen displays for their vehicles,
Okay.
which led to the development of LCD technology.
Oh, wow.
And that same technology is what we use in our smartphones today.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so it just shows how everything is connected in ways that we might not expect.
It's true. You never know where innovation will come from.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do we get better at making these connections, right?
It's the big question.
Like, how do we improve our ability to connect the dots?
Yeah.
Well, it starts with curiosity,
Okay.
that desire to learn and understand. But it also requires a solid foundation of knowledge.
Okay.
The more we know about different subjects,
Yeah.
about history, about how the world works,
Yeah.
the more dots we have to connect.
That makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't forget common sense
Right.
and critical thinking
Absolutely.
to make sure that we're not making faulty connections.
Yeah. We don't want to just force things together.
Right.
Yeah.
So this chapter really opens your eyes to the importance of looking beyond the obvious and really seeking out those hidden connections.
It's about being a detective in a way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I guess that brings us to chapter 3,
Okay.
which is all about the power of communication.
Right.
And this one's particularly interesting because communication is something we do every single day.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not just talking, though.
Right.
It's about truly connecting with other people and conveying our message in a way that actually resonates.
Yeah. It's about making an impact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating is that most of our communication isn't even verbal.
Really?
Yeah, body language, tone of voice, facial expressions, these things often speak louder than the words we're actually using.
It's true. I've definitely noticed that.
Yeah, and the book even mentions this research
Okay.
that says 85% of financial success
Wow.
is actually attributed to personality and communication skills.
That's a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Not just technical knowledge.
So it's not just about what you know. It's about how you communicate it.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And then they go into these stories of leaders like Winston Churchill
Oh, yeah.
and Franklin D. Roosevelt and how they were masters of communication.
Right.
They inspired nations during times of crisis.
Like during World War II.
Exactly. Think about Churchill's speeches during the war.
Yeah.
His words, his belief in victory, his ability to articulate the stakes and rally the British people. It played a huge role in changing the course of the war.
That's powerful.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Roosevelt, with his fireside chats on the radio,
Oh, yeah.
he connected with Americans during the Great Depression. He explained these complex economic policies
Right.
in a way that people could understand and relate to.
So he made it accessible.
Yeah, and he built trust
Mm-hmm.
and inspired hope during a really difficult time.
That's amazing.
It's pretty incredible, right?
Yeah.
It's like words have power,
They really do.
and the right words spoken at the right time can actually change the world.
Absolutely.
And they compare the power of communication to the power of fire in human history.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, fire gave us warmth, protection, cooking, but it was the ability to share knowledge,
Right.
to communicate discoveries and ideas
Yeah.
that really allowed us to progress and thrive as a species.
It's like communication is what makes us human.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so this chapter really drives home the point that it's not just about what we say,
Yeah.
but it's about how we say it.
Right.
Our content, our tone, our body language,
It all matter.
it all plays a role in effective communication.
Yeah, we have to be mindful of all of it.
And they conclude the chapter by talking about organizational communication.
Okay.
How when employees understand the company's vision and goals, they're more likely to be engaged and productive.
That makes sense.
It's about creating a shared sense of purpose.
Right. Working towards a common goal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which leads us perfectly into chapter 4,
Okay.
which is all about the power of purpose.
All right. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, this chapter is about how having a strong sense of purpose
Mm-hmm.
can fuel our passion, reduce burnout,
Oh, okay.
and help us overcome challenges.
That's powerful.
It's about knowing your why.
Right. Understanding the deeper meaning behind your actions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they actually start with this great quote that says, thoughts lead on to purposes, purposes lead on to actions, actions form habits, habits decide character, and character fixes our destiny.
Wow. That's a lot to unpack.
It really is.
Yeah.
But it kind of highlights how important purpose is in shaping our lives.
Yeah, I could see that.
And they even talk about how Hindustan Unilever Limited,
Okay.
one of India's biggest companies,
Yeah.
has made purpose a core part of their business strategy.
Really?
Yeah. They believe that companies with a clear purpose last longer.
Interesting.
Brands with purpose grow faster, and people with purpose thrive.
So it's not just a feel-good thing.
Right.
It actually has tangible benefits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then to illustrate this idea of purpose, they share the story of John Scully's move from Pepsi to Apple.
Oh, okay.
So Scully was already successful at Pepsi, right?
Right.
He was a big shot there. So why would he leave to join this unknown startup like Apple?
I'm curious to hear this.
Well, Steve Jobs, he didn't offer him more money or a fancier title. He appealed to something much deeper.
What do you say?
He asked him, do you want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life? Or do you want to come with me and change the world?
Wow, that's powerful.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, Scully joined Apple.
It's hard to say no to that.
Right. It just shows how powerful purpose can be.
Yeah, it's a huge motivator.
As a motivator.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about individual motivation, though.
Right. Yeah.
Organizations can use purpose to motivate their employees and improve productivity.
Yeah, it makes sense.
The book emphasizes that a company's purpose should go beyond just profit.
Okay.
It should be about their role in the world, making a positive impact.
Right, so it's about more than just making money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they give examples of companies like Merck, Apple, Google, Microsoft,
Okay.
all of whom have these strong purpose statements that resonate with their employees and their customers.
So it's about aligning your actions with your values.
Right. And purpose can even drive the smallest actions,
Like what?
like donating blood, right?
Okay. Wow.
When you understand why you're doing something, it gives you the motivation to act.
That's true.
So finding your purpose is not just this abstract idea.
Right.
It's something that can really shape your life.
Yeah, and the world around you.
And the world around us.
Absolutely.
So it's about knowing why we do what we do and aligning our actions with our values.
It's a powerful concept.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And that leads us perfectly into chapter 5.
Okay.
Which is all about the power of dreams.
All right, let's talk about dreams.
This chapter is about how dreams give us direction and motivation in life.
Okay.
It's about having a vision for the future.
Right.
And letting that vision guide our journey.
That's inspiring.
They start off with this quote from Dr. Abdul Kalam that says, "Dream is not that which you see while sleeping. It is something that does not let you sleep."
Wow, I like that.
It's about having that passion that keeps you going.
Yeah, that fire in your belly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dreams aren't just fleeting thoughts, right?
Right.
They're the seeds of our aspirations.
I like that analogy.
And this chapter kicks off with one of the most powerful examples of a dream that changed the world.
Okay.
Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech.
Oh, yeah.
Delivered during the March on Washington. It was a pivotal moment in the civil rights movement.
Absolutely.
His dream of a nation where his children would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Powerful words.
It inspired millions.
Yeah.
And ignited a movement for social change.
It shows the power of a dream.
To mobilize people, to spark a movement.
Yeah.
And to really envision a better future.
It's inspiring.
And then they talk about Steve Jobs.
Okay.
And his dream to put a computer in every person's hands.
Right.
His vision, his unwavering belief in personal computing led to the creation of Apple.
And revolutionized the way we use technology.
Exactly.
Wow.
But it's important to remember that dreams don't always come true easily.
Right.
They share the story of Walt Disney's early failures.
Oh, yeah.
His animation company went bankrupt. His ideas were rejected time and again.
But he didn't give up.
He never gave up on his dream to create the best amusement park in the world.
And he succeeded.
Yeah, and that led to Disneyland.
Yeah.
And this global entertainment empire.
That's amazing.
It's a reminder that the path to achieving our dreams is rarely smooth.
Yeah, there are going to be obstacles.
There will be setbacks, challenges, even failures.
But it's about perseverance.
Exactly. It's about that unwavering belief in your vision
Absolutely.
that ultimately determines your success.
Yeah, you have to believe in yourself and your dream.
They highlight all these other people too.
Like who?
Like Napoleon, Beethoven, Charles Dickens.
Oh, wow.
All these people who overcame adversity to achieve their dreams.
It's inspiring to hear those stories.
It's proof that even the most audacious dreams can become reality.
If you're determined enough.
Exactly, if you have the willpower and the determination. So this chapter reminds us that having a dream gives us direction.
Yeah.
It gives us motivation.
Right.
And it gives us a reason to keep pushing forward.
Even when things get tough.
Even when things get tough.
It's like a guiding star.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not just about dreaming.
Right.
It's about having the courage to actually pursue those dreams.
Take action.
Yeah, no matter the obstacles.
Absolutely.
And that leads us perfectly into chapter 6.
Okay.
Which is all about the power of out-of-the-box thinking.
Ooh, I like this one.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah.
This chapter is all about embracing change, thinking differently,
Okay.
and coming up with creative solutions
Yeah.
to overcome challenges
Right.
and achieve innovation.
It's about pushing the boundaries.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they start off with this quote that says, "The telephone did not come into existence from the persistent improvement of the postcard."
That's interesting.
So they're saying real innovation requires us to break free from traditional thinking.
Right. To think outside the box.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they share the story of Dick Fosbury
Okay.
and his revolutionary Fosbury flop technique in the high jump.
Oh, the guy who jumped over the bar backwards.
Yes, back then, everyone jumped forward.
Yeah.
It was the accepted way, the logical way.
Right.
But he dared to be different.
Yeah.
He experimented with jumping backwards head first, and it looked awkward.
Yeah.
But it proved to be a game changer.
He changed the sport forever.
He won the Olympic gold medal.
Wow.
And his technique changed the sport forever.
It's amazing how one person's out-of-the-box thinking can have such a big impact.
It can change everything.
Yeah.
And then they talk about Procter & Gamble.
Okay.
And how they used out-of-the-box thinking to overcome these regulatory challenges with Vicks Vapor Rub in India.
Oh, interesting.
They recategorized Vicks as an Ayurvedic product.
Really?
Yeah, which bypassed certain regulations and allowed them to reach a much wider market.
Clever solution.
Right. It was a simple but brilliant solution.
Yeah.
And then they share this funny story about a toothpaste factory
Okay.
that invested millions of dollars
Wow.
in this high-tech system
Okay.
to detect empty toothpaste boxes. But it turned out a $20 fan that was strategically placed by a maintenance worker
No way.
was already doing the job perfectly.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that we don't always need complex solutions.
Right. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best.
And it also emphasizes the importance of involving the people who are closest to the problem.
Yeah. The ones who are actually dealing with it every day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they also talk about the success of Asian paints in the rural market.
Okay.
Their innovative approach to packaging and distribution helped them reach a really challenging market segment.
Interesting.
And then they dive into the world of aggregator businesses.
Aggregator business.
Like Uber, Airbnb, Amazon.
Wow.
They disrupted entire industries by embracing this whole new business model.
Right.
They don't own the assets.
Yeah.
They don't provide the services directly.
Connect people.
They connect people who have something with people who need it.
It's brilliant, really.
It's pure out-of-the-box thinking. Okay, so we're back and ready to dive deeper into some of these ignored skills from the book, Power of Ignored Skills.
It was quite a journey through those 9 chapters, wasn't it?
It really was, yeah. We went from observation all the way to prediction.
We covered communication, purpose, even dreams.
Yeah, it was a lot to take in. So now I'm really curious to see how we can actually apply these things.
Well, we can start by revisiting observation.
Observation. Okay.
Remember that biologist, the one who made his students stare at a fish for days? Seemed a little crazy at first, but it makes sense, right? It's about training yourself to see beyond the obvious.
So it's not just looking, but really seeing.
Exactly. And there are actually different types of observation, too.
Oh, like what?
Well, you've got your qualitative observation where you focus on the qualities, the characteristics, and then there's quantitative observation where you're measuring and quantifying what you see.
Okay, so like if I'm observing a new marketing campaign,
Exactly.
qualitative would be how people react, emotionally.
Right.
Quantitative would be like click-through rates, all that data.
You got it. And to actually get better at observing, there are some techniques you can use.
Like what?
Well, mindfulness, for one. It helps you be more present, more aware.
So slow down, Take it all in?
Exactly. Engage all your senses, really be in the moment.
Interesting. Anything else?
Don't underestimate journaling. Write down what you observe and you'll start to see patterns, make connections.
Oh, I like that. I have so many thoughts that just kind of disappear.
Write them down and they become more real, more actionable.
I'm going to try that. So speaking of connections, let's talk about connecting the dots.
Ah, yes. Seeing those relationships that others miss.
This chapter really hammered home the importance of knowledge, right?
Absolutely. The more you know, the more dots you have to connect.
But how do we avoid seeing connections that aren't really there?
That's where critical thinking comes in. You're not forcing connections, you're recognizing patterns.
Okay.
Understanding cause and effect.
Got it.
And being able to back up your ideas with evidence.
So curiosity is important, but so is being able to analyze what we find.
You got it. And this whole connecting the dots thing, it's crucial for good decision making.
Oh, how so?
Well, when you understand how things are connected, you make better choices, anticipate consequences.
It's like that snake effect story, right?
Exactly. They tried to solve the cobra problem, but just made it worse.
Because they didn't see the whole picture.
Exactly. Connecting the dots is about thinking systemically, seeing how everything interacts.
So sometimes the obvious solution is not the best solution.
Nope. You gotta look deeper.
Okay, so we've made the connections. Now what?
Now we gotta communicate those insights. Share what we've learned.
And this chapter really got me thinking about nonverbal communication.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we spend so much time thinking about the words we use.
But it's more than just words, isn't it?
Right. Our tone, our body language, our facial expressions, they change everything.
Absolutely. Remember, 85% of financial success.
Wow. Yeah, that stat was crazy.
It's about personality and communication, not just technical skills.
So being able to connect with people matters.
It matters a lot. And think about those master communicators. Churchill, Roosevelt.
Oh, yeah.
They knew how to inspire, how to persuade.
Those wartime speeches, they really moved people.
They did. They knew how to use words to paint pictures, to evoke emotion.
And it worked because they were authentic, passionate, they connected with their audience.
That's the key, that genuine connection. But how do we get better at that?
That's what I'm wondering. I'm no Churchill.
Practice is key, of course, but also being aware of how you come across.
Okay.
Being mindful of those nonverbal cues, adapting your style to different situations.
So communication is a two-way street. You have to listen to.
Absolutely. And that sense of connection, it's tied to purpose.
Purpose. How so?
When you have a clear purpose, your communication is more powerful.
Oh, I see. It's coming from a deeper place.
Exactly. Remember Steve Jobs asking, "Do you want to sell sugar water?"
Oh, yeah, that line. So powerful.
He appealed to Scully's desire to make a difference.
Right. It wasn't about money or power. It was about something bigger.
That's the power of purpose. It resonates with people.
So it's not just what you say, but why you say it.
You got it. When you want to make a positive impact, your words have more weight.
It makes you think, what's the purpose behind my communication?
That's a great question to ask yourself. And speaking of purpose, it's a natural segue to dreams.
Dreams. Okay.
They often come from our deepest desires, those things that don't let us sleep, as Colum said.
Right. That burning passion that keeps us going.
Exactly. And remember, dreams don't always come true overnight.
We saw that with Walt Disney, right?
Yeah, he faced bankruptcy, rejection, but he never gave up on his vision.
And he created Disneyland.
It's a reminder that the path to our dreams is rarely a straight line.
There are going to be obstacles along the way.
Setbacks, challenges, even failures. But it's about persistence, unwavering belief.
We saw that with so many others. Napoleon, Beethoven.
Right. Overcoming adversity to achieve their dreams.
They show us that it can be done.
It can, as long as you have the determination.
So having a dream gives us direction, motivation, keeps us going.
It's like a guiding light.
And it's not just about dreaming, it's about having the courage to pursue those dreams.
To take action even when it's scary.
And that brings us back to out-of-the-box thinking.
Ah, yes, that willingness to challenge conventions.
That chapter was so inspiring.
It was. All those people who dared to be different, who changed the game.
Fosbury, Procter & Gamble with their VIX solution, all those aggregator businesses.
Uber, Airbnb, they shook things up.
They really did. But how do we cultivate that kind of thinking?
It starts with curiosity, openness to new ideas, question everything.
Don't take things for granted.
Exactly. Surround yourself with people who challenge you.
Create an environment where creativity can thrive.
And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about progress. Have fun with it.
I like that. Enjoy the journey.
Experiment, explore, be playful with your ideas.
This whole deep dive has been a real eye-opener for me,
I'm glad to hear that.
It's made me think about my own strengths and weaknesses, and I feel this renewed passion for learning.
That's wonderful.
But with all these skills, it can feel overwhelming. Where do we even start? It's like we've climbed this mountain of knowledge,
Yeah.
and now we're standing at the top looking out at this vast landscape.
And you're not sure which path to take first.
Exactly. It can feel a bit intimidating.
It makes sense to feel that way. There's so much potential, so many directions we could go.
So where do we even begin with all of this?
Well, my advice would be to start small.
Small. Okay.
Don't try to tackle everything at once. Pick one skill, just one, that really speaks to you, something you're excited about, and make that your focus.
So, like, choose one tool from the toolbox and really get to know it.
Exactly. It's like learning an instrument.
Okay, yeah.
You wouldn't try to learn piano, guitar, and drums all at once, right? You'd start with one.
Right, focus on the basics.
Exactly. Master the fundamentals before you move on.
No need to rush the process.
And remember, consistency is key.
Consistency.
Small, consistent efforts over time.
Okay.
Those will get you much further than trying to do everything at once and then burning out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Don't try to change your life overnight.
Okay.
Pick one small thing, just one,
Okay.
that you can do each day to practice the skill you've chosen.
So, like, if I'm working on observation, maybe I spend 5 minutes each day just sitting and observing my surroundings.
Perfect. Or if you're working on connecting the dots, maybe you commit to reading one article a day on a topic you don't know much about.
Okay, yeah, I like that, making it a part of my routine.
Exactly. Integrate these skills into your life in a way that feels manageable.
Sustainable, yeah.
And remember, it's not about being perfect.
It's not.
Nope. It's about progress.
Okay.
You'll have setbacks, you'll feel stuck sometimes, but the key is to keep going.
Keep learning.
Keep pushing yourself.
It's about the journey, not the destination.
You got it. And don't forget to have fun along the way.
Fun.
This is about exploration, experimentation.
Right.
Those are things we naturally enjoy.
That's real.
Approach it with a sense of curiosity, openness, excitement.
I really have felt that during this deep dive.
That's great to hear.
It's given me a new perspective, and it's rekindled this passion for learning that I kind of felt like I was losing.
That's wonderful. And, knowledge is most valuable when it's shared.
Oh, okay.
So talk to people about these skills.
Yeah.
Share what you've learned. Inspire others to start their own journeys.
I love that idea, like creating a ripple effect.
Exactly.
Let's make these skills something that everyone knows about and uses.
That's a great goal.
Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for guiding us through this deep dive.
It's been my pleasure.
I feel like I've learned so much, and I'm excited to see where I can take these skills.
I have no doubt you'll do great things.
And to everyone listening, remember, you have the power to change your life.
You have the power to achieve your dreams.
You just have to cultivate these skills.
And watch as the world opens up to you.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening.